We're ready.
Okay. Call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of July 17th here at City Hall. So the first order of business. Call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of July 17th here at City Hall.
Yeah.
So the first order of business. Call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of July.
Sorry.
Perfect.
There you go.
Okay, the first item is a public hearing for annexation number 87. So at this point in time, I'll open the public hearing and turn the floor over to Mr. Depot to give us the report.
Well, I think it's actually gonna be me.
Okay,
Giving you the
perfect.
report.
Yeah, I guess if there's your name, I guess it would be you.
So we're gonna focus just solely, apologize, on your staff report tonight, but this is for annexation 87. It is for BWMD LLC. They own 1.2 acres at 1012 Baltimore Boulevard. The property, if you look at the map, it's right next to the Newland Stoller Chevrolet dealership. It is across the street from Sheets. And when we annex Sheets, we also annex that portion of 140. So this property is adjacent to the city. They are coming into the city because they need additional sewer allocation. Property is served by one site well. And so that's why that they're coming in. The property is zoned.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, happy to have you.
So,
Happy to be here.
yeah, but we are sound only tonight through the computer right there.
Oh.
Just
Okay.
letting you know, everything is in the staff report, so no presentation tonight. The property is zoned C2 in the county. It'd be coming to be business into the city. It got introduced to the mayor and county council on May 12th. Sent it to the county on May 13th. On June 11th, July 9th, I apologize, the Planning and Zoning Commission of Carroll County. They held a public hearing, they had a meeting about it. Talked about it, decided to forward it to the county commissioners with a positive recommendation. And then the next day, on the 10th of July, the Board of County Commissioners, they did sign a letter that's now in your packet too, if you have any interest in looking. The property is going to be, they're keeping the building there. It used to be an old Remax building. They're going to keep that building there, but they're going to be turning it into an adult daycare facility. So with that, I end my report. But I'm here, obviously, if you have any questions.
So there was no waiver of zoning required
No.
because there
The
wasn't a
business
significant
business.
change in the zoning. And it's going to be an adult daycare facility.
Yes,
It was zoned C2 commercial medium intensity district in the county, which is comparable to the business zone. That's the zoning district that always apply for any property in the county going from county to city. And the use is allowed in both the C2 district and in the county, as well as the B business district in the city.
Does the state have any comments?
not much, no.
Okay, perfect. Okay, any questions by the members?
No, nobody.
Anybody here?
Was that the old Sharkies?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the old Sharkies. You got you remember Sharkies?
Yeah, graduated.
Or a restaurant.
Yeah, graduated with a.
Anyway, thank you.
Okay, any further comments by anybody in the audience?
And
No.
just to let you know, it's scheduled to go at the July 28th Mayor and County Council
Okay,
meeting. So the recommendation that we're asking tonight is for a positive recommendation to the Mayor and County.
first we have to close the public hearing, so without objection, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll entertain a motion to make a recommendation to the
Make
mayor
a-
and council.
A motion to give a favorable recommendation to the city council to adopt the annexation.
Second. Okay, so you mean that the Department of Planning? I'm trying to,
It's resolute,
yeah,
right there.
the Planning and Zoning Commission forward resolution number 25-06 for annexation 87 to the mayor and council with a favorable recommendation. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, motion been made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Recommendation goes on to the mayor and council. Yeah. The second item is a public hearing for ordinance number 2025-01, automobile uses text amendment. Here again, this is a public hearing. So at this point, I'll open the public hearing, turn the floor over to Mr. Depot.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing for ordinance 2025-01 automobile use text amendment. This is an ordinance of the mayor and common council amending chapter 164 zoning and subdivision of land. To amend the definitions of word usage and add the definitions of automobile detailing shop, automobile repair and service shop major, automobile repair and service shop minor, and automobile sales, and to replace the term service station with automobile service station. To amend section 164-121 on premise business signs, and article 20 special provisions, section 164-149 automobile service stations, as well as the permitted uses and special exception uses in the MUI zone, P zone, DD zone, IG zone, NC zone, PI zone, and PRSC zone, to reflect the newly defined uses and to renumber without substantive change to the list of lists of permitting special exception uses in those zoning districts. And just as some background, Brian Ditto, who represents the Durham Community Commerce Center, is actually the audience located in the city of Westminster Corporate Center Court, contacted Community Planning and Development regarding the desire to operate automobile service shop use at the Commerce Center. The Commerce Center is zoned PI Plan Industrial Zone, and an automobile service use is not identified as an allowed use in the PI zone. During the review of the zoning ordinance and the types of automobile related uses provided for therein, city administration and community planning development determined that the automobile related uses contained in the zoning ordinance do not reflect the array of such uses currently offered to automobile owners. And that the city should clearly identify which automobile related uses are permitted in which zones, consistently refer to these uses established and define each use. Staff identified several automobile type uses in the zoning ordinance that should be amended, deleted, or added. And as I pointed out earlier, in certain zoning districts, and determine that usage should be amended or added to provide consistency and clarity of differing automobile type uses. Staff drafted the proposed text amendment to the zoning ordinance to address the automobile type uses, and presented the amendment to the Economic and Community Development Committee, the ECDC, at its June 17th meeting for review and discussion. Subsequently, we continue to meet with the ECDC on August 19th, October 19th, November 19th, and December 10th of 2024 to discuss the text amendments. At its meeting, the ECDC recommended that the Community Planning Development forward ordinance 2025 automobile use text amendment to the mayor and common council for introduction. And this text amendment was introduced to the mayor and common council on June 9th, 2025. Where the mayor and common council referred the ordinance to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its review and recommendation to the mayor and common council. So that's, if you have any questions about the ordinance or changes, I'm available for any questions we may have.
Okay, any questions by commission members?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the question is, but I think I have one.
Okay. I'll let you think about it.
Yeah, somebody else can ask a question first, maybe.
So basically, this is an effort to modernize our definitions to take into account the variety of uses that relate to what in the old days we just called a service station.
Exactly, and if you look at the ordinance on like page 5, you'll see some of the, in red, some of the terminologies. It was all over the place, automobile, vehicle, so it cleans it up to be consistent. We created these definitions and uses for different levels of automobile use. And depending on the level and intensity, that's how we determine what zoning districts that type of automobile.
Okay, that was what I was.
And if you look at the
So the
definition,
changes don't blanket every zoning board, every zoning district.
No.
You have the definitions and then you fit those in where you think they best fit.
So if you look at page 7, that's a good breakdown of the uses and where they would be allowed in those zoning districts. So, and the definitions as we go through, the automobile detailing shop is the most minor of the intensive type of uses you can imagine. For detailing the car, then the automobile repair and service minor is the next step up to major. And so and so forth. So obviously more intensive uses would be allowed in the industrial zones.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's just, as you go through, you can see the thought process in that.
Okay.
Is a motor inn still a current term for something? There's such a thing as a motor inn?
Not in the city of Westminster.
Well, it's under PI zone, you have a motor inn.
And we, this.
That's gotta be from 1952 or
Missed that.
something.
Yeah, and just the complexity of some automobile car washes, which may be approved only as an except this on and on, so we clean that up.
Yeah.
Nobody calls it automobile trailer implementation sales without a front, so we can
Right,
say
okay.
automobile sales stuff. And define it as basically any type of automobile vehicle that can sell, so,
Yeah.
again, cleaning up terminology and trying to clarify types of uses and the intensity of each use.
Okay. So have you had time enough now?
I think that explains what I was gonna try to ask, yeah.
Jen, how about you? You good? Any questions?
Building somebody else. You know, this
I
is-
don't have any right on the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll probably think of some later.
How about Fiona, you good?
Okay. No, was wondering, is this holding up a business from opening? Like, what has spurred this on?
So again, Brian, you know.
Probably Clark's client, probably.
It was Safe Light. So Safe Light,
Okay.
wanted to move into the PI zone. We didn't allow for that automobile type of service use.
Yeah.
The automobile detailing and minor, I think was added to the PI zone. So that use could therefore be allowed.
Okay.
Okay.
So none of this is gonna affect any existing.
No, so, and that's where we looked at the definitions, what's downtown, we paid attention to that, anything that is existing today. That wouldn't otherwise be allowed would be non-conforming and can continue to operate in perpetuity until it ceases to exist for 6 months, and in some cases 4 years.
Got it.
So yeah, so we did look at all the uses we have and hopefully correctly named them and located them in the districts that they exist today.
Okay, Lindy? You good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll open the floor up for any comments from anybody here that wants to speak to this issue,
Thank you, I would, may I stay seated?
whatever makes you comfortable.
Clark Schaefer, I'm an attorney representing the owners of the Carroll County Commerce Center, which is the Rosen family. I don't know what the entity's called, but Corporate Center Leasing. Corporate Center Leasing. Yes, we had a potential tenant, Safe Light, that puts windshields on and comes to your house and does it in your driveway and all that, but the zoning administrator said it's not allowed. So we said, well, let's talk about it, and then it ended into a year and a half. The Safe Light's long gone. This is a year and a half ago, more. That we are now here with this comprehensive thing. So we have 2 comments as the only PI zoned property in the city. And one which is developed, percentage of it. There's a fair amount of undeveloped area in that PI. I would like to point out, at least for your consideration, that development and the Rosen family's commitment to the city is to be admired. That's brick and glass. There's no requirement that that be brick and glass. You know, it's, and if you read your PI zone and this purposes, this is a home run. Now, that being said, we have two comments on this text amendment, two specific comments or beefs within or changes. We believe that the automobile detailing shops and the automobile repair and service shops minor should be made a permitted use in PI zone and not be put in the category that uses up our 15% retail allotment. There's a 15. This zoning ordinance is one that puts lawyers' kids through college. And from this, because it lists uses, mostly manufacturing, by the way, that you can do out there, you know, aircraft assembly, you know, some ridiculous ones. But then it says you can do the following retail uses, and it lists about 15 of them. But you're limited to 6,000 square feet per certain, you're limited in the size and you're limited in the floor area as opposed to your total area of your PI. So and we're not here tonight to quibble about that because it is what it is. We've lived with it and we're going to live with it. What we're saying is that we're asking that this ordinance as proposed, would put these uses in a category that takes away our retail flexibility. And I think flexibility is a key word here. And naturally, the person that owns these property wants some flexibility in leasing. You know, hence Safe Light Walks. You know, we were interested in Safe Light. We thought it was a good use. We thought it was compatible with our other uses out there. We thought it would fit. We knew it was indoors. That most of the work took place. But anyway, we believe that these uses, we're not quibbling with the definitions. We believe that they should be put in as permitted uses. So that's number one. Number two, and maybe more important, and I can't, so number two, and more importantly, this ordinance as proposed would actually reduce the zoning that we have on the site and have had since we developed it 15, 20 years ago. And namely, it removes restaurants from our permitted uses. And restaurants was in the permitted uses when we bought the property, when we applied for the PI zone, when we went through the development plan approval process, got the approval, pulled the building permits, built the buildings that are out there now. Restaurants were permitted use. This ordinance purports to remove that from the, we don't know why. And what, and I mean, and
Is that only in PI, just in the PI zone?
that's the only one that's being removed. And you see it's stricken through there on the motorists thing. Is that there, they strike it out. Now, why would you want to do that? Do you not want restaurants? Does the city not want restaurants? It's on 97, it's got great tracks, got a traffic light.
Are the restaurants out there now?
No,
Just the food related to, yeah, like chicken and sandwiches and stuff like that, yeah. But could you eat those on site? Is there like a,
You can, they
you
have
usually have like a
inside.
table inside where you can eat.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. We can, you know, what I'm finding out, you know, all these Royal Farms, Sheets, you know what they're doing now? They call themselves restaurants.
Okay.
Probably because they figured out most zoning ordinances are more friendly to those than convenience stores. But yes, that there's a Royal Farms out there now. I don't know that Mark would call it a restaurant. I doubt if he would. But no, there's not a restaurant there now. And we can't figure out why the city would want to prevent restaurants out there, or put it against our retail. Okay, they have it. They've left it in the retail section, but they've taken it out of permitted. And as I said, it's been a permitted use in the PI as far back as there's been PI. So anyway, we object to that. We think you should recommend, we request that you recommend to the mayor and council that not be removed from the permitted uses in the PI. Now, we don't have, we don't have already prospect or anything like that. We just want the flexibility. If somebody comes out there and wants to do a restaurant, we want to be able to go through the process and get it approved. Traffic, all that stuff gets evaluated. We're not looking for any exemptions from any adequate facilities where it's, so anyway, those are our two requests to you to recommend to the council. And
What are the
obviously,
two requests? The restaurant, what else?
the restaurant, and take the automobile detailing shops and the automobile repair and service shops minor and put them in the permitted use list, not in the special retail use.
Well, so you're talking about on page, I'm just trying to understand your issues with the page, on page 13 of 17. The strike through of restaurants.
Yeah.
Is that your beef?
That-
That's one, right?
And then the other one is 14 of 17 at the top.
What's that, 14 of 17?
14 of 17 at the top, where you see that they have added automobile detailing, or proposing to add automobile detailing shops and automobile repair and service shops minor into the local retail business or service shops included. Now, you don't have the rest of that section, but that's the section I was referring to that limits your size, that says you can't, it's like a quote. Jay's very familiar with it because it's got like a quota system. You come in, you want to do one of these uses. There's a chart. You just used up 4,000 square feet of your retail line. Once you get up to your 15%, don't come in with
So
any.
your issue isn't with the uses, your issue is where it is in the ordinance.
Exactly.
Okay,
We're not quibbling with the definitions, with the uses.
so for the rest of the ordinance, you have no issues anyplace
Correct.
else?
Correct. Those are the two.
Okay. Any further?
That's
comments?
it. That's it.
So,
Let me go through both.
yeah, I mean, I think it'd be
Okay.
good to understand.
So section 16475 D. The mayor and common council years ago, I believe this was a Clark Schaefer text amendment request back in the day for this property, but mayor and common council approved the ability for anybody in the PI to designate certain area in the planned industrial zone for retail and commercial uses as part of the development plan. So it gave special allowance for, because typically retail and commercial uses aren't what would be considered a planned industrial type of use. So they provided this caveat that you could have retail and commercial uses, but it limits how much you can have. And again, the intent of industrial zone is not to be a commercial center or retail center. So they said you have to have 15%. So then they listed specifically the retail and commercial uses allowed under this section, and they list local retail businesses or service shops uses, including like your alcoholic beverage package store, bakery shop, banks, beauty shop, candy store, sales and service for phones, clothing stores, computer sales. So they listed all these retail and commercial that would be special allowance in the PI zone. All we did is list the similar type of service use of automobile detailing and repair shop in the same location that the Grand Common Council felt were the type of local retail and service shop uses actually allowed in the PI. So we're just treating this like all other commercial and service shop uses in the PI zone. We didn't feel it should be treated differently. It should be put together with all the other what Grand Common Council deemed appropriate type of uses that would be beyond your typical planned industrial use. As for the restaurant use, there's a conflict. Yes, it's listed as permitted use, but it's also listed in the local retail businesses and service shops, including. I call it all those uses, it lists restaurants. You can't have two use, you can't have a permitted use. And then have the same use listed where it limits 50%, but if you do, the more restrictive applies. So even if a restaurant wanted to come in today. It would be permitted, I would go to this section and say you're subject to 15%, you're subject to this regulation. If it's listed here as well. So we didn't eliminate restaurants as a violent use, it's still permitted use. We just cleaned up the ordinance to get rid of the conflict. So again, they could today operate a restaurant. They would have to, they're limited to how much, again, as the mayor and common council approved. Limiting 15% of the total area of the property can be these type of service type of uses. But again, that was the intent, because these aren't your typical type of industrial uses.
When was that approved?
This was.
What
20
year? Oh, I didn't know there's a year.
Let's see, 2013.
I don't think I remember.
So it's been in the book, so, for example, Royal Farm, when it came through, they had to apply the 50% convenience stores is again listed as one of those retail service uses, it's not. Royal Farms is not what you think of an industrial use. But again, they carved out this ability, so they were able to by right do the Royal Farm, but. They were limited to how, that takes up a portion of that 15% they're allowed to have these types of uses. So again, they're allowed to use. It just limits these type of
So-
uses to 15%.
Just an example, if Hoss's Steakhouse wanted to come here and locate in the PI zone, could they do it?
Yes,
So, and where would that be allowed by where?
under that one
Just
section,
using that as an example so I can understand.
so you would go to section 164.75. Which we're changing, you can see on page. On
Right.
page 14.
Right, I got it.
So we listed as a restaurant under the retail and commercial uses allowed. Under the subsection, we're limited to the following uses, and restaurant is one of those uses. We didn't list them all, we just did it alphabetically and. But if you look at the ordinance
okay.
itself, there's 20 or so. Retail based and service based business. Way more than that.
But that counts against this percentage.
Against percentage, again, the intent was to maintain the majority of the development for industrial manufacturing type of uses. That's the job creation, that's the type of usage you anticipate, there's type of usage we want in industrial zone. Otherwise, they could request to rezone the property to be business zone. And go through a process of rezoning, if that's what they want to be. But we already have that zoning district, this is planned industrial. There was an intent to limit how much non-industrial type of usage will be allowed in the PI zone.
So just so I get this straight in my head. So. If we eliminated restaurants from this section of the strikeout. It would still allow a restaurant to be in that zone as a principal use.
No.
But limited to 15% of the total
Total area of development.
of development.
Yeah,
So may I, when it's time, I have some response.
Second question. With those two, the detailing shops and minor repairs, service shops. I don't see why they couldn't be principal use myself. I don't think they would affect that zoning. It's something that I would rather have in that type of zoning than somewhere else.
but we've.
But
added-
it's not a heavy use. It's not something that it's gonna cause a lot of issues, noise, smoke, odors,
And traffic.
anything of that nature,
Probably
traffic.
not traffic either.
I mean, in the case of Safe Flight, like I say, they usually do most of their work off-site, go to homes and stuff. But, detailing shop is basically where they're cleaning your car, they're fixing small scratches, they're, cleaning your windows, getting your car ready to sell if you want, or just to be clean. I don't see myself, those two necessarily need to be special exceptions in an industrial park.
It's not a special exception to by right use. It's just limited to how many you can have in that zoning district. Again, it's,
So in the planning, and what I got in front of me here for detailing shops and repair and service, you're stating under the PI that they'd be special exceptions.
permitted by right. As a service and retail use, but they're limited to how many you can have in that PI zone.
Is that limited to
The
the square 15%?
50%, so just like all the other retail and service uses, if you're gonna move those out, you might as well just eliminate that, move all those retail. Service uses up and not call this planned industrial and create a D business zone. Again, you have to look at the purpose and intent of the planned industrial zone. And it's not intended to be a retail service center. It's intended to be community of industries, wishing to mutually maintain aesthetically pleasing appearances and operations. So it's supposed to be a higher end type of industrial development. We are adding all these uses in the IR and IG zone, the heavier industrial type of zones that aren't a planned type of development. In R2, this is near the planned industrial, is that?
No,
There's
no.
another one north of.
Yeah.
Well, is there any other planned industrial zone that has submitted a development plan and had it approved?
Yes,
Where?
up where Marata used to
Is
be.
Marata planned
Magna.
industrial plan?
Yeah.
Up there north of Tevis, that whole site is PI.
And they came in with a development plan and went through the process?
Yeah.
Independence Way, Arthur Peck Drive, that whole area. Is
Yeah.
planned.
I knew, okay, but I think what happened is the city took PI, whatever it is, blue, the color for PI. And during a comprehensive, they colored those northern properties, PI.
No,
No,
no. No, when it came in, it was PI. In fact, it was written because, I only know this because I was here.
I know you were.
There was an intent that Magna was gonna create a whole campus there, and they wanted this beautiful site that would allow industrial, but wouldn't be very aesthetically pleasing. So that was part and parcel to them coming here. They never really fulfilled that plan because
so I could go out and I could come over here and look at the development plan for that thing that would show me the.
I can't tell you
buildings
today,
and the
I can't
architecture.
tell you what you can and can't do. I'm only trying to answer your question.
Okay, but whatever, okay, so there is PI north of us.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to, so if you go to this, I guess I'm maybe stupid sometimes, but on the 16466, the restaurant use is allowed. So by removing it there, it's still allowed.
But with
Right.
restrictions,
What are the restrictions?
the 15% and 6,000 square feet. We get a 6,500 square foot restaurant, they can't come in. And
Is that really the kind of tenants you're trying to attract, or you?
Tom, 6,000 is not that, I mean,
Not that
you
big.
might get some,
Well,
but,
I'm not being critical, I'm just trying to understand your,
well, here's my, first of all, it's not correct to argue that the intent was to do this. That this being remove restaurants from the permitted use. There was no discussion of that. What happened was, and I was the one
there
that
was no discussion where.
at the city council, when they adopted this, what happened was. Robert Rosen, the Rosen family said, we're having trouble leasing this place up. I mean, they built those buildings on spec, okay? They put money into it. That's not unusual. They usually have them leased up. They sat there, they leased them up, and they go, well, we're not getting a lot. We're getting some retail. And so we came in and we said, how about letting us have some retail? Long story short, I took the county has a similar zone and a similar carve out for their industrial business parks or their industrials. I mean, I can tell you, we got. You don't have a full agenda tonight, so let's go. So. What it is that Jack Library. And the county and people up here, they said, we don't want our industrial zones. Sucked up with retail, taken away with retail. Because the county's zoning ordinance 20 years ago, 30 years ago, had IR and IG zones. There were their two industrial zones. But in the IR zone, all the business uses were special exceptions. So guess what? The market spoke, and the market said, all that industrial land you got zoned along 140, let's put a Walmart in there. Let's put a big box. And that's what started to come. Well, certain people at the county and they said, no, we don't want that. We got to prevent that. So the county then started this process of putting in this, you can't do those. And then they ended up putting in language very, very similar to this. Because we copied it when we proposed to the city of Westminster. We said, why don't you use the counties? Why don't we do that? Everybody's familiar with it. This is a way you can let retail in. Now, it was an oversight, pretty obviously, to list it says restaurants and lunchrooms, okay, in the current ordinance, which they're leaving in, okay, in the 15% carve out area. Restaurant, and then Mark's arguing that putting that in indicates an intent you wanted it out of the other, the permitted uses, which he's now, so he's going, we'll just take it out now because that's what they wanted to do in the first place. No, that's not true. Nobody wanted to do that. Nobody thought about doing it. And you notice that restaurant and lunchrooms language, it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because it's kind of like the haberdashery and what's
Well,
what's
that's
a
old,
what's
the
a
way they
motor
used to
inn?
call things.
Well, that's because the theory, part of the theory behind this whole maneuver was industrial zones. By the way, this is my opinion, all outdated, but still there. Industrial zones, they're going to be big, they're going to be campuses. And we're hoping we get some real manufacturing. And they're going to be on a campus, and those people need to eat lunch somewhere. We don't want to force them to drive up into town or whatever. And so you could have a dry cleaner, but we don't want a complex of restaurants. That was the theory there. Now, your mayor and council, at some point before I was here, when they adopted this PI zone, the original PI zone, they put restaurants in as a permitted use. No size limitation, it's allowed in the zone, the PI. And they want to take it out. And restrict it. So my question for the House is, and the council and everybody else and you is, why would you want to, what is there a harm? Why would you want to remove from a property owner who bought a property based on a zone, who developed a property based on a zone? Why would you want to take something away from him and restrict him? If he gets a 6,500 square foot tenant, sorry, no, get out of here. You need 6,500 square feet, you can't. You got a 2-story, it's hard to imagine. Why would you want to do that? And I have one more comment, and that is, Mark keeps referring to, this is not industrial. And we're using these terms industrial and retail. They're not useful terms. Retail is sales to the public of goods that are, there's a definition. I'm sure most of you have been to the site. That's industrial. I mean, most of these uses in here are, look at the uses you can do in here. Let me see, Brian. Brian, you got your sheet
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
So here's what you can do out there. You can do manufacturing and assembly of aircraft, automobiles, etc. You can do manufacturing and assembly of electrical appliances. You can do manufacturing, package treatment, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and food products. Manufacturing of musical instruments, you get the point, manufacturing. You can do carpet and rug cleaning plants. Okay, you can do clothing and shoe manufacture. You can do blacksmith, welding, machine, or similar shops. And by the way, if that's, I mean, auto detailing is not compatible with blacksmith, welding, or machine shops. You can do heliports, subject to various things. Self-service storage facilities. Aircraft storage, that's for the, the airport, obviously. You can do office I had Brian mark up the ones on this that we really thought might come out there. You can see his purple lines. There's not that many of them. We're trying to, which ones could we actually, lease to and make money and hire people and all that. So to call this and to suggest that the intent of the city is that this is an industrial, it's not. It's a, that's why it's called planned industrial instead of IR and IG. It's a sheet stuff. It's brick and glass. It's all the work takes place inside. The storage is, if it's outside, it's hidden in back. It's clean. The roads, it's compatible. And by the way, I think everybody knows this, but developers like the Rosen family, they don't want incompatible uses out there. They turn down, but you may not believe, they're not just leasing to anybody. He sat on his property for a long time, built it spec. If they find somebody that wants to lease it, they think is gonna hurt their ability to lease to other people, they're not leasing to them. You come in with a whatever. So getting back to the point, the automobile uses seem to us to be fit in with permitted uses out there, should not be limited. And secondly, the restaurant also fits in or was considered compatible because it was in the original ordinance said you can have a restaurant there. And I get back to my other question is why not? Because it prevents us from having an auto manufacturer come out there because we're using up too much space for a restaurant. And again, it was in the original ordinance. It's not correct to say that when it got inadvertently listed in the back in the amendment, it indicated an intent to take it out. If it did, why didn't they take it out then? Why didn't they take it out? Nobody saw it. Nobody realized it. It's not an
That's why I think they realized that they would take it out. And this thing was overlooked.
Well, that's pretty easy to say.
So I would say.
Since you weren't in, but I was here and I don't.
I'd say it's pretty consistent in a lot of text amendments I've noticed, the past text amendments, but again.
You don't think the city would want a restaurant out there?
But it does.
At
But
97
you cannot-
Commerce Court.
If a restaurant came in, they'd be subject to the 15%. Because that is listed as well. You can't-
Not now.
No, today, yes, today it's listed as one of the 15% ones is restaurant and lunchroom with or without drive-throughs, including fast food. As a listed use today under the allowed retail and service uses, so it is still there. We're cleaning it up, so if restaurant wanted to come today, they'd be subject to the 15%.
So what Mark is saying is that if I came in and applied for a Carrabba's, a bonefish grill.
You could do it.
No, he's saying, it's 15% right now. That's his interpretation as a zoning administrator, is that a later.
It's listed.
He's gonna say, I mean, we'd probably be in court on it if it was a big enough deal, but it is wrong, my opinion, and legal opinion, so forth, to state that a subsequent amendment that adds that restaurant language trumps the original language that said restaurant is a permitted use. That's not correct. If you, and, you know,
You
you
can
all,
always, but you can always change a zoning ordinance. I mean, there's no vesting in language. I mean,
I'm not saying you can't change it. I'm saying that they're changing it by taking the restaurant out of the permitted use list.
but that's,
They can do. You
They can do it,
well, you have the
absolutely,
power to do
nothing-
it. You could take them all out.
that's true.
You could change this to a residential.
I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't. I'm just saying the fact that the zoning ordinance changes where uses fit or are allowed or not allowed isn't like unique. It happens all the time. There's an evolution of things. Some issue pops up and, you know, why this got so specific years ago was there was a list, it would say uses similar to, and it had a long list of things. So if it didn't fit, the zoning administrator could make an interpretation that kind of fits in there. And things fell through the cracks and got into the downtown that people didn't like. So they said, well, we need to list it, it has to be on this list. And if they want to add it, then we have to actually add it. So there was a reason why some of this stuff happened years ago. I'm
I
not
don't
saying it's
think-
right or wrong.
They quarrel with the authority to do it. But my question is, why would you,
Yeah,
you're not
I-
required, why would you exercise your legislative authority to take restaurants away from Carroll County Commerce? Or limit them?
Why would you recommend adding, this was your text amendment, why did you recommend adding restaurants as one of the 50% uses?
Oversight. I
So-
copied the counties, ordinance and had
So
it
again,
there.
oversight, just like it was oversight that somebody can go back and look, the use is permitted by right. And didn't take it out, that, yeah, I could say the same thing, it was
Well,
not. it was
How
not
long has it been redundant and in both places?
Since it was adopted,
10, 15 years.
Since it's.
10, 15
since
years
They
from
copied
what?
the county.
From the very
It's
beginning.
been,
Yeah.
no, well, so there was a date when the original planned industrial zone was adopted. I don't know.
Way back, yeah.
Way back.
It was here when I was here.
And then,
Okay.
15 years ago, about this amendment came in that is the 50%. Okay, so, and since then, it's had the redundancy in it.
The PI zone goes back to at least 1987,
Well, that,
because it was in place when I came to work here.
so when it was adopted, let's presume that the people that adopted it wanted restaurants to be a permitted use in the PI zone.
You know.
Thus, they listed it.
I think the thought was, Clark, that a restaurant would be in support of the people that worked on the site. So if you had a building and internally to it, you had a place where people could eat, that was a good thing, but not where you're necessarily marketing it to the general public. I'm not saying that somebody else couldn't go there, but I think the
I
intent
think
was,
that's what happened 15 years ago when it was modified.
I don't know. I think from the
Because
beginning.
I'm saying in the beginning, it was principal permitted.
So
And then 15 years
they
ago, it,
according to market
they didn't take. the-
interpretation, they are now restricted.
I know I wasn't,
Under the
I wasn't here
50%,
when,
They didn't
when
take
when he made that change, I wasn't here, so
Yeah,
I
they
can't.
didn't take
They
it out
didn't
of
take it out of
principle,
principle, but.
but
they
I put it in with the
Yeah.
restricted.
So that was the
50%.
question.
All right, I got
Really, the
it.
question is 15 years ago, did they want to restrict it?
I can't
Was
answer
that
that
an
question.
intention?
And no one can answer the intent.
Yeah.
Well,
15
what I'm
years ago.
saying was
Yeah.
opposite.
Well,
That's impossible.
so here's even better, okay, so here's the original PI zone. Where it said what you can do in that zone. And it said, all the uses permitted in 16453 and 16461, they're the IR and the IG uses. Okay, the manufacturing and da. Except, and then it lists 10 exceptions.
These are the principal permitted?
These are principal permitted. So all those uses you start with, and then you carve out the following. And the first one's the big one. All residential and retail commercial uses. Okay, they're out. So if they're listed in those two sections that are considered residential or retail, they're not in this zone. And then later it goes, well, let's list some other permitted uses because we carved out those. And it says sawmills, flour, grain
Yeah,
mills,
got it.
truck, okay, they're out. What's in? Office buildings, research, experimental testing labs, et cetera, et cetera. Motor inns, motels, restaurants, and service stations. That was considered in the zone. Compatible with the goals of the zone, works, we want them in there, that's why we're listing them specifically. Okay, now to make the leap to, they adopted this other section, and that, they must have intended to just move it, take them out of the permitted use. No. That was not the intent, it was an oversight to put them in.
I
And
wish somebody would have seen it 15 years ago.
yeah, me too. But and once again, you know, when you put them in that list, it counts against your retail quota, so to speak, whatever that
Well,
is.
that's your real beef, isn't it?
Well, no, well, beef
I'm
is
trying
six,
to understand what your beef is.
that's a beef and the 6,000 square feet. And the other beef is, the main beef is, why take it away from us? We've had it. You're taking it away.
Well, the 6,000 square feet, where is that coming from? I'm
You
sometimes
can't-
I'm
and
stupid.
all those retail and commercial uses that are listed back there, including restaurants and lunchrooms, except for daycare centers and something else, are limited to 6,000 square feet.
Okay, got it, all right.
Okay.
Cause I don't have the whole
That's
ordinance here.
not in the principal permitted, that's in the other
That's
part.
only for those,
Okay.
only for
In the
those.
permits, in the principal permitted still, or is
There's
this what they pulled them out?
there's no square foot limit in the principal permitted, you know, for obvious reasons.
All right.
It's in the other section.
Yeah, it's only for the ones that are carve outs, special carve outs that are supposed to be special retail uses, like daycare centers and that kind
Right,
of.
all right, any further questions from the commission? Members? I wanna to wrap up this phase and close the hearing, and then we can have any deliberation at that point. So, any further comments, comments from staff?
PI zone was actually part of the original 1979 zoning ordinance. So
That's right.
it's always been in
That
existence.
is correct.
Restaurant was not a listed use back then, so I think Clark might have mentioned at some point. That which was added to the PI, but originally it didn't have restaurants in.
No, that's, Mark, you can't, that's not true.
I'm looking at the 1979 right now, it must have been added later, because I'm looking at the original 1979 ordinance and it does not list restaurants.
Well, can you tell us when it was added? It was.
I don't know.
So in other words, it wasn't listed in the very beginning.
Very beginning.
But
It was
added
put
later.
in at some time.
Yeah.
And then at a later time. Came back. And restricted its use.
Well, and later, so restaurant must have been added at some point, again, I will find that out, but. Yeah, but then following that was the. But also it didn't allow any retail at all. As Clark pointed out, there was that stipulation.
And those retail uses,
So then to fix that, as Clark mentioned, there was a text amendment that allowed retail uses but limited. How much? The 50%. Now granted, whether that's correct or should be updated now, I agree that.
It should be taken, you should put a line through the restaurant and lunchrooms. Would fix it, just put a line through the restaurant and lunchrooms. Take the line off of the restaurants in the permitted use and we're done. We've solved the redundancy and it's a permitted use. And by the by, what you just said, I think is more support for my argument that there couldn't have been intent. They added restaurants, somebody, he thinks, namely the mayor and council, specifically added restaurants at some point to this zone as permitted use. Then later they adopted this, but
And specifically allowed restaurants as one of the 15%.
But
So again,
didn't
there
they-
was that intent.
didn't
So-
take it out of the, if there would have been an intent to take it out, they would have taken it
Yeah,
out.
you would have think you'd
Well,
take it out.
you would assume.
You,
but-
you would have here, you did that here.
But when you look at it, it starts off with motor inns, the restaurant is hidden in the string of uses. It doesn't, it's not listed as our restaurant. So I think there's a good likelihood that somebody went down that permitted use, didn't see our restaurant. They saw motor inn, motor lodge, restaurant and something else. That it was missed and passed over when the text amendment should have been stricken back then. Because again, there was a clear intent to place restaurants
Right,
as allowed use under the 15% rule.
I got it.
But there was a clear intent to allow restaurants in the very beginning when they changed
In
it.
this-
So you
yeah.
have two instances.
But you have to go with the most I would say you go with the most recent text amendment and act by the mayor and county council, which was to add it to the 50% rule. And again, you can't have conflicting uses, the more restrictive would apply. And that's.
So I'm not
Anderson.
saying you have, I'm not saying that, I understand that,
Yeah,
believe me, I
so they-
understand that,
Yeah,
but
Well, then the
I think it would
this
be easier to leave the restaurant in the permitted uses and strike it out from restricted.
there would be an opportunity at this time to reverse that and make it
Correct.
permitted at this,
Make it-
that this would be
Is
the
it
time
permitted
to
use?
discuss it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
All right, so. This is the public hearing part. I wanna, close the hearing and then we can have a deliberation on what we'd like to do, okay? So without objection, at this point, we'll close the public hearing. And we can deliberate this issue and decide what we wanna do, what we wanna recommend, so. I'll start with you, Jay. Since you're on my far left.
Believe me, I'm not on the front. To me, now, in a planned industrial park, I don't see restaurants being an issue, being in that, and specifically since now I understand that it wasn't there in the very beginning. Then it was specifically inserted. And then at a later date, they decided to restrict it. I don't necessarily like restricting things. I think the restaurants should be taken out of the restricted use and put back in as a principal use. Now, I'm not saying maybe we put a limit on the size of the restaurant. You don't want a 20,000 square foot restaurant out there, believe me. But most restaurants nowadays has Outback and the rest of them are probably around the 5,000 to 6,000 square feet size. Or maybe a little larger, maybe 8,000 square feet. I'm knowing some restaurants I've been to, but I don't, in a planned industrial park, to me, that adds to the attraction of the businesses wanting to come there, because there's something there to help serve its employees.
Right.
And it's, to me, it's an attraction to come to that by having something like that there, so. Myself, I would like to see the restaurant stricken from the restricted use and left in as a principal use.
So you're saying it should be allowed, it shouldn't count it, this
It
shouldn't be.
should
in
not
this
be counted
50.
against the 15.
Yeah.
Now, I can understand service station, convenience store or something like that. That's not something, but a restaurant to me doesn't fit that.
You think it could get to a point where a limitation would still make sense rather than having, I don't know if you have 5 restaurants.
Well, you're not,
So, you know how they follow each other sometimes.
sometimes they do, that's true.
They could-
I think they'd limit themselves by how many would be there.
I mean, yeah, 'cause they're
When
looking
they
at
come in,
the
they
competition
evaluate how
itself
many, how many there are, and they would.
and the population in the area,
Took up
and
the
it's
best
support that.
restaurant space already.
Royal Farms got that site. Cause they have the frontage right there.
Well, they got with all together like that. But my opinion, and the way I would like to see things is,
What's
They're
that?
not much that big of a restaurant.
I'm not saying, you see but the comment was made about Outback, you see, that's kind of like,
that's
that's normal.
a normal, to me, that's a normal size restaurant.
For one of these chains, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen now, I will say I've seen bigger Outbacks and stuff like that. But then again, they take into account everything, I mean, population in the area,
Yeah,
can it support a 20,000 square foot Outback? No, this area couldn't do that. But something of that size, it could easily, and it is.
I really don't see it as much different than things that we've done at the Air Business Center where a bounce meat place or a trampoline place wanted to go in and we had to tweak things to allow a use. And we knew, I would always say, well, you're never giving up industrial land when we do that. But it was also, well, person's gotta rent his spaces, you know what I mean? They gotta get the
I think
income out of it and the things that are available.
I think when you think when you think industrial, you're automatically going to this manufacturing. And we had some of those in the past.
Yeah.
When Magna was Emerald, they were actually making car
Making
frames and stuff, but I guess because of our location, and we don't have the best access here, some of those things, they're not gonna come here.
Well, that's what's saying. I think that's why we opened up the other things, and I guess it really wouldn't be a problem to open this up either, because it's the same type.
Andrea had a
thing.
question.
Now a question, I was just looking up for conversation purposes, what the Outback, the square footage of the Outback is in Westminster Station, and it's 4,936.
That falls
It
under
is under the
6,000,
square foot.
so that's what you see.
But that 6,000 would go against the 15% for the.
Yeah, of the entire
Of the
area.
entire-
But I
So
mean, to
just
me,
wanted to give you a square footage of,
Thank you, I
in
appreciate
your
that.
mind when you're talking about how.
that's
many-
about what I thought it was.
Is a restaurant, or are there any specifications on restaurants, like?
No.
Is there a carry-out restaurant
Right.
specifically?
Um,
Or is there a full service restaurant?
Yeah.
Or is there
Restaurant's a restaurant.
restaurant to restaurant?
But in this case, it does get more specific in the PI zone where it does list it as including fast food, I believe.
I'm asking because I worked at General Dynamics for 5 years when they first opened. I was part of their hospitality team because they brought in people from outside, and one of the resounding problems was for the guys on the manufacturing side was there was no place to eat.
That's right.
Right there.
They ate at Tina's Deli because Tina's Deli was the only thing there, and they
Yeah,
kept-
across the street there by the Social Security
yes,
office.
we kept Tina's
Okay.
Deli in business.
Yeah.
There was no
Okay.
place. And the kitchen that
So,
was
like,
inside of there
me-
was basically vending
Right,
machines,
got it.
so.
I mean, so, I mean, you asked my opinion, that's my opinion.
Right, how about you?
I think restaurants should be a permitted use. I think they need food out there for those people.
And again, it is a permitted use.
Right, just.
But it's
Well, I think-
restricted,
I
but I
think-
don't think it should
I
be
think they-
restricted.
I think
Not
that it
restricted.
seems like the consensus is it should be allowed, which even you don't disagree with. The question is, should it be
Restricted.
restricted? And I think the feeling is probably not.
Because that's what the B business zone is for, which we have planning 140. This is planned industrial zone. I think it's getting.
But
lost
that,
with that.
but like I say, I mean,
We have zoning districts specifically for restaurants, so you're gonna have 20, 30, so you're gonna have a Westminster Station. The intent of planned industrial is not to be proliferated by restaurants, the by right use.
Articulate the public harm. The harm
All right,
of
Clark,
health, safety and welfare.
Clark, this is our
Restaurant.
deliberation
What is it?
now. Right, this is our time to deliberate this issue.
I think
Yeah,
you
that-
still have to have food for those people. Okay.
I mean, and I have no objections to putting a size limitation to a restaurant in the planned industrial zone. 6,000 square foot restaurant, that's the size of an Outback. Most of the other restaurants of that type, that's generally close to the size. I don't have a problem adding that 6,000 square foot restriction to the use in the principle. I just don't think it should be counted as part of the 15% limiting, because then you have one restaurant and it just limits everything else. So I would say I would amend myself to say, yeah, leave it as a principal use, put a restriction in the principal use of a 6,000 square foot restaurant. Remove it from the restricted area of part of the 15% of the whole.
They can have more than one.
It's acreage, it's not square, it's not 15%, it's 50% of the acreage. If you have 100 acres.
You're talking
15
15
acres can be these type of uses.
Well, even understand that, I still think, like I say,
Which is quite substantial when you.
no, I'm not saying, but I'm saying, like I say,
How did we get to 6,000 square feet then?
That was added at the same time of text amendment, it was. Let's see. The size of any individual retail or commercial use may not exceed a maximum of 6,000 square feet. Except for daycare centers and health clubs, which may not
But that's
exceed a
probably,
maximum. of
at
12,000
6,000 square feet, that's probably not going to restrict the restaurant anyhow.
Exactly, today's restaurants are the
So I'm not
6,000 and below, and then the
I'm-
area of a canopy over gasoline pumps is limited to size as well.
I think you could fix it if if you, in this 164-66, help me here. If you left restaurant in,
What page?
I'm talking about 13 of 17. You leave restaurant in.
Yeah.
And you take it out of the other, you remove it from the other part. From on page 14.
I
I
agree.
mean, sadly, we don't have the entire list here, so it makes it a little bit difficult for me to follow. Sometimes I'm sounding stupid, only because I don't have everything before me, but I really don't have a problem with the restaurant use. I might have a problem with some retail uses, but I really don't have a problem with the restaurant use.
Yeah, I could agree
I
with
really
that.
don't.
Yeah, because the intent is not to be a retail center out there, and I totally
It is
agree with
not a
that.
retail center, and it hasn't.
And a
been
restaurant to
intent
me
from the
is not a-
beginning. The developer hasn't, he's all, yeah, I remember this guy from the beginning when he first came in, and he was always, he really wanted a top-end project, how it looked. And he
What
was
was
very
in it?
particular. If he hasn't changed, he's a very particular guy what he wants. And you know, I think that how that's going out there is done pretty well.
So you're saying if we leave restaurants in this would be principal permitted,
Yes.
but it would still be limited to 6,000 when it's here?
No,
Or it wouldn't be limited?
I mean, I would say put a limit on it. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, it would be, if you left it in right now, the size of a restaurant couldn't exceed 6,000 square feet, but then the size of any retail facility couldn't
Couldn't be
exceed
6,000
6,000 square feet.
I mean,
So
that
think you have
restriction's
to-
there.
I think the restriction's already there.
And,
He's
okay,
not arguing that number.
No,
I don't
the
understand.
restriction's only there if it's in that, we want to move it to the principal permitted use category. Without the restriction.
Is that section 13?
That is, where do you take it out?
Page 13.
Page 13. Yeah, just take the strike out of the word restaurants there, on G.
I understand that part.
On G. That's what I'm saying. That means you could do any size restaurant you want. Now. You know, you can do what you want.
You could do multiple restaurants as well.
Yeah, you can
What's
do
that?
multiple
You
restaurants.
could do
You
multiple
can always
You
restaurants.
can do,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you could.
multiple.
You could, but you could, yeah, so what, and, you know, is that an evil? And first of all, it's not gonna happen because they want the visibility, but whatever. But I'm worried about the 6,000 limit because we can't predict, we're not smart enough to predict the market. And now if you don't wanna, maybe 10,000, I'm doing there's another restaurant I know that's a chain, and most of the stuff's chain these days, although you know, you might get a Vietnamese, you know, might get something, that won't be 6,000. But anyway, they want 180 seats in these places, you know, you hear that, and I think that's more than 6,000, but anyway. We think that leaving it in, it's not I mean. It's not a problem, and it's not gonna be a problem. And not only that, it's gonna be a plus to the community, if we're lucky enough to get a restaurant that'll come out there and pay the freight. And again, my clients bought and developed with restaurant as permitted use listed in there.
That doesn't mean we
And
can't
left to
change.
change,
you-
and left to
that-
change once
Right,
in the
Because
meantime.
it's-
Well, but it didn't get changed, it got modified according to him.
Somehow
But
it
you
changed.
agree and admit that legally we can make that
Oh,
change if we wanted to do it.
I
So
totally
we got
agree.
it.
I agree that that's Mark Schaefer wrote this.
Yeah.
All
right, I got it.
Issue.
All right,
Stop pointing the finger at me, Mark. This is your doing.
well,
So if
well, I
you,
think some of this the writing of this, I think predates Mark. I don't think
Yeah.
Mark was here when
This
this
is
was
well
done.
before me.
if,
But I don't know the reasoning in 2013 because even I wasn't here, so I can't speak to that.
I was here and I don't remember.
Yeah, I
It
don't-
was an oversight, it wasn't even thought
All right, I
about.
got
What
it.
was thought about was these uses are general retail.
In the same part, is that what you're stating?
You already
I
said
made a
that.
mistake, that's right, that's what I'm saying,
And,
I made a
and
mistake.
part
I
of
should've
our
caught
job, I
that
think, is
and
to
should've
correct the
taken it out of
state.
the other, that's right, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so
I
let's,
copied the county's ordinance.
have we beat this dead horse?
The only question, I'm getting a feeling the
Okay.
6,000, do we want to limit the total restaurant to any of the 6,000 stuff or just let them come?
I would not limit it.
Okay. Okay,
I
That's
think,
all I was-
I don't think practically
well, if
speaking.
we're not gonna limit that, then it can go back in
I would
13.
just put it back there. I would limit it.
That's what I would do. All right, so what's the pleasure of commission? You need a,
I'd like to
Maybe
make a
might need to-
motion, I guess,
they
to
might
modify the proposed, because would that be the correct?
no, to leave restaurant in,
As a
and-
principal use
and a
and
principal
take it
use.
out of the
Restricted category.
category.
all right, so there's a motion to
I would second that.
leave restaurants in as a principal use and strike it as a restricted use, out of the
Yes.
restricted use category. Okay.
And with those, I don't know if you can make a motion, but we haven't voted on the first one
All
yet.
right, so we have a motion at second. Are there any further questions or any clarification commission members need on what they'd be voting on? Okay,
My question is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
commission otherwise recommending approval of all of the
Yes.
other language?
Yes.
That was my second motion.
yeah,
Okay, all right, here,
Well,
just breaking the second motion.
Yeah.
All right.
what about, aren't you gonna talk about the auto detailing next? And taking it out of the restricted category?
Forgot about that.
Remember, the second request we had was to take
Make
those
it a
other,
principal use.
take it out and make it a principal permit, make he's right. Take it out of the restricted category, we can't call it principal, because he's probably correct that it is a permitted use. But to put it in the permitted uses instead of in the restricted category, auto detailing and the other. Again, like a machine shop, might be next door to a machine shop, who knows? Why would you want to restrict it? What's wrong with it?
Can we vote on our first motion, please?
well, we vote on the First Amendment.
Right, first
Which
motion.
is one that's would leave restaurant in as a principal use. And then it would also remove it from the restricted category. Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Now, the other thing we were considering is the auto detailing shops and the auto repair and service shops minor, so.
Page 14 is where it's
Yeah, page
Yeah.
14.
been put in, but I don't know if it came from anywhere else. Did it remove itself from somewhere else?
If it did, it would have to be in this ordinance, so,
Right,
in this category.
13, it'd be in 13.
I make a second motion.
Yeah. okay.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that automobile detailing shops, automobile repair and service shops minor be put in a principal use, not as a special exception.
I'm second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to put the auto detailing shops, automobile repair and service shops minor in the principal use category, not restricted. And remove it from where it shows in this proposed ordinance.
Correct.
Under the restricted category. Okay. Is there any question on that?
No, because by doing that, that's eating into that.
Right, I got it.
percentage, right, yeah.
All right, so all in favor of the Second Amendment?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, now the question here is the remainder of the ordinance, do we have any issue with that?
Can I make that other motion?
Yeah,
I'd like to make a motion that we present, the remainder of the ordinance, as we've modified it with the changes to the city council.
Okay, so the recommendation is to recommend ordinance 2025-01 to the mayor and council with the two amendments that we've approved. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for hearing us. Appreciate it.
Okay, the next item is a sign permit for Baltimore Boulevard. DGI Creative.
So this is for a property or a building, I'm sorry, for Westminster Station Phase 2. It's for David Ross orthodontic. The
Okay.
we're administratively, we're allowed to approve signs that are no greater than 64 square feet, but the planning commission has the ability for 64 up to 125 square feet. So that's why we're here today. This one is 77.7 square feet, and so it is the picture is on page 3 of your staff report. It talks about in staff report too that the commission shall take into consideration the following factors: safety, size, configuration, elevation, and the location of the property. And so the existing signs on the property, the neighboring property, aesthetics, and any other factors related to the location, sign, or size. They said that no sign shall be approved if the commission finds that it will not achieve a maximum of compatibility, safety, efficiency, as well as attractiveness. The proposed David Ross sign is a building mounted sign, and the zoning administrator finds that there's no traffic or pedestrian safety concerns. Our recommendation is that the commission consider the approval of the sign permit 1988 to allow the building mounted sign for 77.7 square feet. Of this stuff. Yeah, for the David Ross orthodontic signs. And that was very quick, but in the back, you do have a much larger picture as well, if you have any questions.
I mean, I think it's consistent with the.
That was my
comments that's there.
Signs that are there, not the overall size, but the letter size seems to be consistent with
Yeah.
other ones in the area, so. I would recommend that we approve it.
This commission did approve also a little bit of a bigger sign for Honeygrow, which is just a couple of storefronts down. But other than that, it is consistent with the same size, the same types of signs that are already up.
All right. So the motion been made to approve sign permit application 1988 to allow a building mounted sign of 77.7 square feet for David Ross at 225 Baltimore Boulevard. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the sign permit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Okay. So, water resource.
Great.
Yeah, we can we take a short recess and say 5 minutes?
If you hold on just a moment, I will
Okay.
read this. Just hold on 1 second. Don't break. All right, now we're back.
Okay. Ms. Gerhard, go forward.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm here today just to talk a little bit about the water resource development. This is a county-wide document that is prepared. It is an element of the overall county master plan. Some of the purposes is that the fact that it's to evaluate the water supply, wastewater, and stormwater to ensure that what is projected matches what's available and what will be available in the future. The water and sewer master plan only should have a 10-year focus, while WRE, the water resource development, has a much longer range that we can look at. That water and sewer master plan requires you to have projects that are specifically linked to your capacities, and this does not. So you can look as far out as you want as far as long range plans are concerned. So what you'll see in front of you is two different documents. One is a county-wide document to explain about it. And then this is also our city-specific ones. We talk about our key water issues. If you look at the Westminster one, our key water issues really is pure water. That's what we're focusing on right now, as to how to increase what we need, how we're going to meet our build-out demand is very tied to pure water and how that program moves forward.
That's a reclamation project.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
All right.
And so, also, we talk here also on, that eventually the idea would be to expand the Cranberry the water treatment plant to accommodate that additional treatment. So once pure water goes through, everything is moving smoothly. Before there could be that additional step to possibly increase that program even more, we would need to do some sort of an expansion to the water treatment plant first. So that talks about kind of like our key items here. Also talking about, as far as wastewater goes, talking about an expansion eventually would be, in order for pure water also to get to that maximum that it could ever be, a wastewater treatment plant upgrade would also probably need to be done in some capacity to allow it to reach there.
Well, when they finish this current work at the wastewater plant, what will be the capacity of the plant at 5?
So we're doing a lot of I&I projects, the
Oh.
infiltration, inflow and infiltration, I'm sorry, projects that is allowing us to technically treat more. So we're not necessarily doing a lot of capacity upgrades as far as we're doing ENR, which allows us to treat more and better. But we can get you that answer. I'm just not
Okay.
entirely sure, because I don't know that there is actual capacity being added
Well,
to
what-
this go.
In theory, what they're doing is they're eliminating the groundwater that seeps into the pipes, which then has to be treated. By taking that out, you don't have to treat as much at the plant.
Well, and it gives you the ability to treat a lot more
Got it, right.
by treating, by not
Exactly.
doing a lot more.
You're treating a real flow and not groundwater that's seeping. Okay, right, all right.
But any new things that are starting the treatment plant now, some of those are related to pure water.
Well, not for wastewater, but at the
No.
water. Like
Just
for the
for-
water reclamation center, yes, everything there has to.
That would be Cranberry.
Yeah.
Okay, not at the, okay.
So, stormwater is, we have it contracted through the county, so it's not exactly relevant to us, but we are, anytime they have specific goals that they wanna move forward with, we are on board with that.
Okay.
Some of the things that are important to know when you look at our yellow light on the graphic, on the back, is that this information is for planning purposes only, right? So it is part of the Maryland Department of Planning document, and not necessarily Maryland Department of the Environment document, and they're the more regulatory agency as far as, what we can do with our water and sewer. This being, they do use the Maryland Department of the Environment's methodology though, to talk about capacity and demand. But it seems as if they are required to use the same methodology countywide. So one of the big differences here, and you can see it on here too, is that they're using 250 gallons per household for residential. When we have proven to MDE time and time again that we're at 235. So that also, when you look over, however many units
Yeah.
they propose, it really does add up as to why it is considered to be higher. Also, if you see it being circled 2, you'll see that doesn't take into account that water reclamation pure water project, which would at first add 500,000 gallons to our capacity. So that doesn't take that into consideration at all, that would make it come down to 162,619. As Mark has also brought up before, and in different circumstances too, that the additional 10% added for the drought demand is, I would consider it to be a little excessive too, when looking at our numbers. But anyway, this is for planning purposes. They said here that the build out demand was based on the 2023 water service area and the sewer service area, including long range areas, and they took into account zoning of 2022. One of the things that's really interesting about a document like this is that you need 3 years of consecutive data. Sometimes it takes a while to get that data, so the data that you're looking into is like older than you would think, so so I think this is considered the 2024 water resources element, and in mid-2025, it's just going to 60-day review. So it probably won't be adopted until like the 2026 time period, so you can tell how old some of the information is, it's just kind of funny. This-
One question on the
Yes.
drought
Yeah.
demand, don't we have the quarry thing set up to solve the drought demand, but they still count against you? I mean, they don't add that in. The fact that it would offset the drought demand.
No, they have it in there as a project, like there's something that exists, and then like future possibilities of things that we could also do for drought, but no, because it seems like they have to do everything for everybody the same. Yeah, so they're taking into that 10%. And
They don't give you, they don't give you credit for it,
No.
because you can't use it unless it's a drought. But
Exactly.
then when there's a drought, they don't count it. We know
Yeah,
it's
you
there,
got it.
but they're not
You got
telling
it.
it's there. Okay,
Exactly.
I got this.
Well, in the pure water system itself is a drought. Element mitigation.
Yeah,
Again,
definitely.
so because you're reducing water, you're reducing and replenishing, so. Yeah, so again, it's questionable if somebody.
But technically, the drought allows you to use the quarry water,
Yes.
but you can't use it otherwise. Pure water, you're gonna be able to use, whether it's a
Exactly.
drought or not.
So one of the things also I wanted to point out that I think is important, when I said that this is a Maryland Department of Planning document. When I was at the county in 2010, we were doing the water resource element, and I was instructed to make the water resource element match, like the document for the water and sewer master plan. One is by Maryland Department of Planning, one's by Maryland Department of the Environment, and they were like apples and oranges. They were nowhere, the data that one is asking for, the other is not asking for. So it's its own animal, and I think that it's a planning document, that's what it is. But wanted to also say that, our action items for sewer is that we're gonna continue to do the, inflow and
Infiltration and inflow.
What is with me? I can't say those words. But yeah, we'll be, that's our mitigation efforts for that. So we do have a very small additional capacity that's needed. And the idea is that we would keep moving forward, with that.
Okay.
So what we're asking tonight is that, and it might be a letter or something that the county gives to me to ask for you to sign on behalf of the planning commission. That gives the county the ability to move forward with their 60-day review. That is what I am asking for tonight.
Everybody's looking at me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll make a motion and what should the motion be? Motion to authorize the,
What do you want the motion to do?
That the planning commission gives their approval for the county to move forward with the 60-day review.
Okay. That would be my motion.
Of
Okay.
water resources element.
I second it.
All right, motion been made and seconded to allow the chairman to sign a letter that would allow the county to move forward with their 60-day review. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Okay. All right. Last item, Cal County liaison, not last, Cal County liaison.
I have their report,
It's a short report, right?
yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I don't, really just to say that the county is continuing to move forward with their master plan. Work groups have been established and they're still moving forward with everything. There's some text amendments also that are currently moving forward for revisions to the employment campus district, adequate public facilities, and the solar development requirements. Those are, I think, the only thing on this list that is relevant. and if that's even, not really.
All right.
The other, oh, I'm sorry, I have something for other comments. When you get to that.
Okay, so the county report's finished. The planning commission member comments? Hearing none, Andrea?
So we've received some updated availability dates for our coordination with Carroll County Planning Commission.
Okay,
So I'm gonna say this here tonight. Hopefully, if you don't mind to check your calendars, and I'll send an email tomorrow with these dates as well.
all right.
So it's either an evening meeting on August sixth. A daytime, a 9 AM meeting on August 19th,
Okay, August 8/6.
August sixth,
At when?
6 PM.
6 p.m.
August 19th,
What
At
day,
9
what
a.m.
day is the
I will
19th?
not be available on the 19th.
so this August sixth is a Wednesday,
Okay,
Okay,
August 19th is a Tuesday.
I will not.
I will not be here.
okay. At when?
That was at 9 AM.
Okay,
You have Wednesday, September 3rd at 6 PM.
Wednesday,
Yeah, Wednesday, September 3rd at 6 PM.
Labor Day's early, right?
That's the day before.
That's the day
Or, yeah,
okay.
or a couple of days. no,
Day before.
days.
okay,
And then you have Tuesday, September 16th at 9 AM.
Tuesday, 9/16 at 9.
So just as what we had previously talked about, we'd like to set a date. So I was thinking maybe one of the September dates might be the best one. So it gives us time also to meet as a commission to decide, what information we want to share and how we want to present it. But you agree?
Yeah, I started putting together a PowerPoint that ultimately, once we pick a date, I'll get that out to the planning commissioner, so then we can start game planning how who wants to speak and, or if there's anything else you wanna add to that.
What is it they want us to, they want us to talk about the environments between the city and the county, or they want us to, what are they?
I think it's that, how the city and county can work together. And just maybe an update of what's happening in the city.
Okay.
Good.
We're gonna have to have kind of like a script.
Yeah, and that's, again, we put together a PowerPoint. And
Yeah.
I think it kind of sectioned out, and maybe we can talk about, maybe Tom talks about one element and then somebody else, just. Go through those type of things and, yeah, that's how I kind of envision it. And it seemed like it was just a good back and forth open discussion when we looked at some of the other. Municipalities that went.
Okay,
So they were asking questions, I'm sure they'll ask questions about water and sewer, about pure water, things like that, so.
Yeah, I'll send out these dates tomorrow too. But just wanted to start thinking about, what would work for you.
most of them were bad for me, but the last one in September is good.
Yeah, that works. The September dates.
The last one, the first, yeah, the rest, I probably won't be here, but,
Yeah,
and the early one in August, probably too early.
I think,
But
yeah,
I'll follow up with you.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out.
all right. Any further comments?
Yes,
tonight?
it is, Mr. Chair. One of indulgence, I just want to let the commission know that tonight will be my last night with you
What?
all here. I am moving out of state at the end of the month, so you won't see me at future meetings, but
Where are you going to?
I'm headed to North Carolina,
What part?
the Raleigh Durham area.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, but just wanted to tell you how much I've enjoyed working with you, and I'm sure you'll be in good hands moving forward. There'll be someone else with my firm who'll be here.
Well, I'm really sorry to see you leave it, you're quiet, but when you have something that's important for us to know, you let us know.
Help
We
us.
try to do it right.
So I appreciate that.
All right. Well, anything else? No? Okay,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
motion been made,
Second.
seconded to adjourn, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no, the ayes have it, meeting's adjourned.